because we are going to define our own methods in our classes. And remember that methods are actions we do on the data inside the class. So the action that we will do can see only data inside the class. So what is a method? A method is a collection of statements, maybe one, maybe two, and maybe consist of selection, of a while loop, and etc. that are grouped together to perform an operation. So it looks like we have a group of statements. We put them inside the class. So for every method, what you should know. Here I have drawn a diagram. Okay, it's like a box. You can imagine that the method is like a box, and a box has a name. So this will be the method name. And it might have input that you give it to the box. We call it input parameters. And when I say that we might have input parameters, because maybe we have 0 or more input parameters. And you have seen an example in strings when you say dot length. So length is the name of the method, and you notice that we don't supply anything between the round brackets. But when we say dot char at, so char at is the name of the method, and we have to supply an index between round brackets, which is one input parameter. So it depends on how many input parameters. Also, the method could return one or return no value. So at most it can return one value, or it returns no value at all, which is called void. If this method, the job of this method is just printing. So we don't expect any answer from this method. It will just print and we leave. But suppose now this method is computing the area. So we don't want just only to tell it to compute the area. We need the answer. So this method should give me the answer. So we need a return value from this method. Just remember these points here, that for every method, you think about a name. You think about whether it needs parameters or not, and how many parameters. We call them arguments. And think about what is this method is going to return as a result. Is it going to return a value, or it's not going to return a value? If it does not return a value, and then we will define it as void. An example of a method that you are familiar, it's char at. And this method belongs to string, a class. And so the name of the method char at, so this is for number 1. And it needs one input parameter, which is the index. And you remember how it works, char at. You give it an index, and it will give you a character. So this method, when you give it an index, it's going to give you a char. And this char represents the place. So index is the place of the character, and char at will give you the character of that, the character inside the string. So the name of the method is char at. It needs one input parameter, which is integer, and it gives you, as a return, it gives you a character. Last, you need to write the method of the, you need to write the body of the method inside. How you are going to get a return value from the input. So the process inside here is the body, which is the code, which is the collection of the statements that you need to write for the method. This is conceptually how you look at methods. Sometimes they are related to functions in mathematics. So the name of the function is the name of the method. The input of the function is the input parameter. And you know that in mathematics equations, when you have a function, it returns a value. For example, if you say f of x is equal to x squared. So f is the name of the function, which is the name of the method, and x is the input parameter, and the body of the function is x squared. So how, and it will return a value. If x is a 3, then the return value of the function will be 3 squared. So this is the return value of the function. So sometimes methods are called functions in other programming languages. Now, what is the benefit of functions? This is one example to show you the benefit, الفائدة, okay, of functions. If you have a repeated code, which is in your program, you wrote a program, and part of your program is repeated. It does the same job, but on different data. Then here you have duplicate of your data. So you define a method and the work will be concentrated on this method. Anytime you need this method, you just simply call it. We would like to find the summation of integers from 1 to 10, and also from 20 to 30, and also from 35 to 45. See, the numbers are not in consecutive order. There is a gap from 10 to 20, and there is a gap from 30 to 35. So we need to write 3 separate loops. Each of these loops will find a summation for 3 different ranges, and this is the solution. So you define a variable called sum. So for the first range, 1 to 10, you make this loop go from 1 to 10, and you add those values into summation, and you print the result. You need to do the same loop, but on different range. You will start from 20 to 30, and you will print the result. And you need to write also the same code for the third range, which is from 35 to 45. If you notice now, there is a duplicate. So these 3 loops are the same. Here you have integer sum equal to 0. Here you don't define sum because you already have defined it. But the for loop in this line, and the for loop is in this line, and the for loop in this line are the same, except these are changing the initial and the final value. So we have a repeated code. So here we say that code is repeated. Now we have to look at the differences between these 3 codes. The differences are, they are in colors. See, these are the differences between the 3 codes. These numbers and the printed ones. Here I will give you 2 solutions. One, we will define a method that does all the job and does not return any value. It will compute the summation and it will print at the same time. So it will do both. And also I will give you another solution that the method will only give you the summation. It does not print. So the job of the method is not to print. Just give it the range and it will give you the summation. Now this is the first solution. So solution number 1, we are going to define a method that only computes the sum. Again, for a method, if you remember, you need a name, you need input to decide what is input, and you need to decide what is return, and then you write the code inside. The code inside is already known to us. It will find the summation from start to end. Since the code is repeated and the difference is only in start and end, so start and end will be an input. So for the method to work, we need to give it start and end. So these are the input parameters to the method. And since the method will compute the summation, so we expect a return value from the method. So after it computes the summation, we write the word return, and we put where the summation is. Notice the summation is saved into a variable called sum. So after the calculation is done and found the summation, then this summation should return as a result of the method. Since the return is an integer, so the return value will be an integer. But see, the method is not printing. The printing is outside the method. So the job of the method is just only a print. Now how to use this method? To use this method, which should be outside the class, this is now the definition of the method. And I will show you the syntax of the method. Don't worry about it now. This is just how to define the method. Here, how to call the method. Now, if you want to use the method and it should be outside, how to do it? You write system.out.print and you write sum from 1, and this is how you use the method. So I expect that the name of the method is sum, and you give it the 2 inputs. C1 will go to start and 10 will go to end, and the method will do the calculation, and the return value, which is the summation, will be given to print, and println will print the answer. Now let's go to the definition of the method. For every method, again I repeat, you need to know the name, how many input parameters, and you need to know whether it returns a value or not, and then you write the code inside. Now a name for this method is sum. A return value is integer, and it needs 2 integer as input parameters. Now how to define the method? First you need to define the header of the method. This is called the header. You write public, and then if it returns a value, you specify the data type of the return value. See, it returns integer, so here you write integer. If it does not return a value, here you write void. If this method retains char, then here you write char. So you start with the return value. What comes next is the name of the method. So a name for the method is sum. So you write the name, you open round brackets, and you put the parameters, comma, one after the other. So we have two input parameters as integers. We just simply define them in the header. Here, you cannot define two variables in the parameters. You cannot say integer start, comma, end. You have to define each input separately from the others. And then you write the code inside between curly brackets. And if the method is, since the method is returning an integer, so the compiler expects that you write return inside. So this is the first solution, is that the method only computes the summation and we print the summation outside the method. The second solution is that the method will do both. You give it the start and end, and it will do both. It will find the summation, at the same time it will print. See, it is going to print. So this method will not return anything because both operations are done inside the method. So we need two input parameters, and we need the code inside, but notice we are not writing return inside. Why? Because it does not return a value. So how to tell Java that this method does not return a value? You write void. That means this method will not return any value. Now how to define it? You write public, you put the return value, which is void, then comes next is the name, and between round brackets you put the parameters, and then you have the curly brackets, and inside the curly brackets you write the code that will find the summation. And see, we don't have return because the return value for this method is void. Next, how to use it. So how to use this method to compute the summation and print the summation at the same time. This is how to use it. You just simply give it the name of the method, and between brackets, between round brackets, you put 1, 10, and it will give you the answer. Let me show you how we can do this on JGrasp, a real program, to show you how methods are really defined and used in your main program. So here is our original program. So we have one class which is called examples on methods, and we have main public static void main. This is the beginning of main, and this is the end of main. So it is one program. And by the way, main is a method. This is the beginning of this method, and this is the end of the method. If you remember that every class should have data and methods. Now this is a class. Where is the data? There is no data inside this class. We have only one method, which is called main. Now see, the code is repeated. So here it finds the summation from 1 to 10. Here it finds the summation from 20 to 30. And here it finds the summation from 35 to 45. So code is repeated. Run the program to see the result. So by looking at the result, see, sum from 1 to 10 is 55, sum from 20 to 30 is 275, and sum from 35 to 45 is 450. So since code is repeated, so and the job for each code is the same, so we will define methods. And remember, we have to define methods inside the class. Now I will define the methods. So define some methods. Okay, so see, I'm inside the class, but I'm outside main. You cannot define methods outside the class. You have to define inside the class. So we will define the first one, public, and here we have int, and we will call it, so the first one I'm going to call it sum1, because I cannot define two methods in the same class with the same name. So I'm going to call it sum1, and we will define the parameters inside. So it will be integer start, comma, integer end. We open a bracket, curly bracket, and we close the brackets. Now since we have a return value, then since we have a return value integer, then we expect to have return inside. Let me just copy one of the codes, the one that's in the beginning, I will copy it because this one retains only the summation. So I will copy the code of the summation and I will paste it inside the method. So this is the method. And remember, we have input parameter end and start. So I have to remove here and put start. And I have to remove 10 and put end. And then since the summation is saved into a variable called sum, then we have to retain sum as a return value. So I want to use it now. Instead of computing, I want to use it. See, printing is not done inside the method. The printing is done outside the method. So I will remove this code and I will put a print, and here I will remove sum and I will put the name of the method, which is sum1, and between brackets I will give the value of start, which is 1, comma, and I will give the value of end, which is 10. Later we will show you the mechanism how the computer will jump from main, it will go to the method, and after finishing it returns back to main. So here I have removed the code and I call the method to find the calculation of the summation. Let us define the other method. I will just simply copy this method. I will copy it and we defined another one, but I need to call it different name, so we are going to call it sum2. Here sum2, it will not return any value and the printing will be done inside. So I will take a copy and we will do the printing inside. So after we compute the summation, then we need to print summation from, break the message, and here we write start to, and we put a plus and we put end, and then we say is, and we print the value of summation, because sum is a variable defined inside the method. So it will be sum from, and the value of start given as an input will be printed, to, and the value of end given as an input will be printed, and then the summation will be printed. Now since this method does not return a value and it does two jobs, finding the summation at the same time is a printing, so I don't need this code, but I need from 20 to 30. All what I say is sum2, comma, 20, comma, 30. So we don't need to involve, you don't need to say system.print because it already, this method will print for you. See inside, it will print for you. Now for the first code, you have the choice which one to use. So here using or calling sum1 method. And here we say calling sum2 method. And here I need to choose one of the methods. Now I will choose the also finding the summation using the same as this method. So we will write sum2 between bracket 35, comma 45, and it will print. See, if it does not return any value, we call the method on a single line. We don't involve it in any other statement. But if it returns a value, then you have to take this value and use it in your main program. So I will run the program, it will run fast and show you that it will give you the same result. And see, your main program consists of 1, 2, 3 lines. And the code that it does the job is placed in one area which is called method. So let us run it. There is an error. What does it say? And oh, I need to put a plus in here, okay, because we need to combine messages together. And now run it again, and here we have sum2. Okay, here there is a small problem. Now see, the method main is using sum1 and sum2, and since main is defined as a static, then we need to define these methods also static. So we will call this one static. And you should not do this all the time when you define your own class, but since we are defining methods inside and called by a method that is static, so we have to make them also static. Run. So now see, it is producing the same output as before, and it is giving me the summation for the three ranges. Let us have a quick trace by using the viewer canvas like what we have done before. So I will bring the viewer canvas, and now see, we are starting the program in here because this is our main program. In here you have other keys other than this down arrow, and you remember we use down arrow to step in, and there are also two down arrows. This one, if you are calling a method, it will go inside the method. But if you press the down arrow, then if you are going inside the method, it will not go inside the method and show you the steps. It will go fast and go out without noticing. But if I want to see how it goes inside the method, how the program is running, then you have to press step in and it will go inside the method. Now we are at line number 7. In line number 7, two things will happen. The first thing, we will go inside the method, someone will do the calculation, and then it returns back and will print. So find summation and it will print at the same time. Now when I run this line, execute this line, the computer will first go to someone. So I'm not going to press this button because it will do the job fast. I need to go inside, so I'll press this button, and now see, it is moving inside someone, and it is still here is pausing. So when you go inside, you have now two parameters. If you look at the left hand side, we have two values and they are defined inside. One is called start and the other one is called end. And see the values of start and end, they are in fact the input parameters from the main program. So 1 is saved into start and 10 is saved into end. Now we can go through the program by stepping. See, it goes 10 times, but I want to skip these steps, so I will go directly to return, and I'm going to tell it, go to that step. And see, we have a variable called sum, and inside sum we have 55. Now when the computer executes return, it will go directly to this line, which is number 7, because we called the method at line number 7. So let us go outside. Now it is returning back, and then when you run the program, see the output. Here we have an output displayed on the output screen. Now we are here. The computer is at line 10. If I press step in, then it will go inside sum 2, will give 20 to start, and will give 30 to end, and also will repeat the same thing. So let's go inside. See, now we are inside sum 2. Now we need, so this is for our parameters. Start is 20, end is 30, but still we don't have summation. Let's create the summation. Now we have a summation. I will move it now, and so the program will run, will go from 20 to 30, and see the value of sum, it is updated. It is updated. So I will make it go up to here. I will make it go run up to this statement, and inside it will print the value. See, it is now inside the method. It's going to print that sum from start to end is equal to this, and see the output, sum from 20 to 30 is here I think I made a mistake, is y plus is coming 30 to, and we will check now here. Yeah, there is a plus here. It should be removed anyway. Now let's continue, go back to the main program, and now we are coming back to the main program. Now I don't want to go inside the method and see the steps. I want to tell the computer just keep going, do the calculation and come back. So we will press the down arrow, and see it has went inside the method, did everything quickly, and printed sum from 35 to 45 is 450, and this will terminate our program. So the error, the mistake we have here is that I should remove a plus to get a correct output. That's it for today's lesson. See you in the next lesson.